Welcome back to Inspire You to Financial Freedom, where really my goal and my heart is that you would be able to live a life of fulfillment and freedom. And money can be one of those things that just holds us back from that. And today I have a very special guest, Miss Kelly here. And Kelly and I, we were just chatting before we came on, right? That we
Yes,
became neighbors back in, I think it was 2011.
correct.
Yeah, we were both kind of talking about money and kind of making some decisions. We both found ourselves in a rental situation and a duplex where we rented next to each other. Probably wasn't part of your plan when you were designing your life.
Yes.
It definitely wasn't a part of our family plan when we had to go through a short sale and ended up in the rental situation. But I do believe things happen divinely and by design. And one of those was getting to meet you.
Yes, it was the serendipity of being in the wrong place you didn't plan, but turned out well.
Yes. And some of the neighbors are my lifelong friends that I met, and a lot of us were just in a transitional state of life and on our way to different scenarios and situations. But man, I've really kept in touch with a lot of the neighbors that I met during that time. They're some of my lifelong friends. And through you, Miss Kelly, I got to know your daughter, Nicoya.
Yes.
Yes. And we now continue to work together and see each other on a daily basis. So
Deep relationships can be very, very nurturing and helping one another grow through challenges and then become productive on the other side of that.
that's right. That's right. And so most recently over this summer, we connected kind of around finances, right? And over actually, while I was in the situation where we were in our rental situation for a few years, I really made it my mission to kind of learn more about money and figure out how money works. And I've spent many years kind of investigating that. And just this April came across something that I believe a lot of my pain and what we've gone through financially, I have found something that could really fast track people and save a lot of time and pain on their financial journey. And so we had a conversation. And I just want to ask you, we're going to do a quick little interview today around the Money Max account and what you were introduced to. So to set the stage, Kelly, can you just kind of give me a little bit of background, kind of if you don't mind sharing your age, your profession, where you're at in your relationships, things like that, kind of your life, where you're at in life right now.
I am 54. I am married for the second time, and I am a practicing attorney. And I am getting back on that financial road to recovery based upon some of the hiccups in my life, romantic relationships or debacles, if you might call them that, and where that placed me, having to kind of start over again.
Yes. Yeah. And it's, you get kind of to this midway point in life, right? And you think, man, I thought I would be at a different point. And I don't know about you, but for me, for some years in my early 40s, that kind of kept me up at
Oh,
night.
yeah.
And
Well, absolutely. I mean, professionally speaking, I'm supposed to do much better than this. I'm an attorney, and it's supposed to be a job that comes with so much esteem and certainly, financial security. And I've been very blessed and fortunate that the job has always been consistent, but life is not predictable. So the hiccups interrupted what I thought was going to be this just wonderful time in my 40s and 50s. And so now in my mid 50s, I'm getting it regrouped and back on track.
yeah, because life keeps lifing.
Without question.
Yeah, and that's one thing we can't control are the situations and the circumstances that are outside of us, right? So when we learn to really lean into the power that's within us and realizing I can make better decisions for myself, and I can begin to shift maybe how I think about things or the relationships I put myself in, right? That a lot of times comes with, unfortunately, experiencing the negative. So you know what you don't want.
Correct. It's easier to say, do as I say, not as I do. So sometimes your learning happens because of potentially negative or uncomfortable experiences. You can read it in all the books and plan to do all the right things, but when life decides to take you on its own journey, You have to be prepared to respond, rebound, regroup, get connected with the right kinds of people, and be disciplined to get back where you expected to be in the first place.
Yeah, or hopefully beyond, right?
Planning to grow. I'm closer to retirement than I was when you and I met 13 years ago.
Yes.
So I'm needing to be very intentional now.
Absolutely. And that was kind of, and so recently you got remarried and you and your new husband have found yourself in a new home with a new mortgage.
Correct.
Yes.
And that's great because when you and I met, I was a renter because of the former relationship and also mortgage demise and a foreclosure and needing to say, okay, how do I start over with bottom out credit and making smarter, more disciplined moves? So I'm where I want to be,
Yeah.
not as far as I'd like to be. So
And so what I thought would be helpful is for you, if you don't mind, and this takes vulnerability. So I just want to say thank you because I really believe in the power of story and journeys, and that what we go through can really turn and help encourage and inspire somebody who might be in a similar situation that I was in, you were in,
correct.
but also bring hope that there is, I believe, for every problem, there's a solution, right?
Precisely.
We just might not be aware of what that solution is. So if you could just kind of tell me this summer when we first met, and I remember we just filled out a form that kind of said where you're at financially, like a financial snapshot.
Right.
Where would you say you were at that point? This was probably in June, I believe.
So doing all the right things, just not making the momentum on resolving debt and creating a better savings and strategy towards, obviously investing and or, plans for future retirement. My husband's a little closer to retirement than I am, but, we're not ready. If we had to retire at the end of the year, we're not ready. So wanting to know what were the smart moves, trying to be disciplined, trying to have fun a little bit in life with a little bit that's left over, of course, but realizing that we need to be really strategic towards handling the debt and creating good savings. That's where I was
Absolutely.
kind of
And
stymied.
so I remember, Miss Kelly, when we went to put your numbers into the system, because this is what I absolutely love. The concept that our money that we make, our hard-earned money, can really work harder for us without us having to even change our lifestyle. But this is
Correct.
something we are not taught how to do. We don't have the education of how to do it. And we don't know the strategic moves to make. This is like the mainstream of us, the majority of us. We follow kind of what we've been told, which we weren't really told a lot about money, unfortunately, in our educational days, right? In school and
Correct.
stuff. So we just do what everybody does. We get paid. And where does your paycheck usually go, Miss Kelly?
Goes
Yep.
right back to all of those bills that they say are due on the 10th and the 15th and the 23rd and four of them on the 25th and attempting to handle birthday parties and a couple of trips and a few nice things and groceries, the same thing as everybody else. And the interesting challenge is, you look back at your budget and go, I'm not a shopaholic. I'm not buying too much in groceries. I'm not overspending on car repairs, but it seems like I should have more left over, and
Yeah.
there's not as much left over.
Yeah, and what we've kind of been learning is the majority of our money, especially, and not, this really speaks to a lot of people, but especially homeowners, is that we know when we get our mortgage, and you just got into a new mortgage, that the majority of our payment is going to the bank to interest.
Correct.
And so our hard-earned money, like 70% of our payment, 80% sometimes of that mortgage payment is not going to benefit our financial future. It
Correct.
is going vastly, most of it to the banks, and we're paying down like $100 if we're lucky, depending on your interest rate and things, right? $200 maybe towards this huge mortgage. That's hundreds. Most of the time, mortgages are at least a couple $100,000 nowadays, right? Yeah, and then we wonder why can't we ever get ahead? Right?
Seems magic. Seems like it's magic, and I'm not the financial expert, but I'm smart enough to know there's probably a fix there somewhere. So that's what I was seeking and striving to locate and trying to figure out. I'm not It's not that I'm not working hard enough. I had to figure out how to work smarter, not harder.
Absolutely. And so when you came to the Money Max account, and I remember we put in your financial situation, and you don't, we didn't have to get your bank account information. We didn't have to get your social security number. You didn't even have to share your credit. It's nothing to deal with credit history, anything like that. We just needed your numbers, right? And when we put your numbers originally into the Money Max account, oh, I think you're a little frozen, but we're back. And
Sorry.
Kelly, we were getting ready to say, no, that happens, right? When we put all of your numbers into the Money Max account, your mortgage, any credit cards that you may have, a car payment, student loan, I believe was maybe a part of your debt. And
Correct.
if I remember correctly, possibly even still paying on some childcare when you were working yourself through law school and you had 2 children you had to provide life for.
Wrapping that into another loan. Yep.
Yeah. So, we've all experienced different life and have found ourselves in situations where we're trying our best to move forward while also providing for our children, right? Getting
Correct.
furthering your education to become a lawyer, and you have a very successful career. So like you're saying, like, man, why am I not a little bit further faster? But life happens, like we said. And then when we start to really look at how the financial system is set up, it's really not set up to help us win. It's
It's set up to benefit the banks and the financial companies and creditors.
yes, right. And so with the Money Max account, that's one thing that this account does is it takes your hard-earned money and it puts it to work on your behalf to calculate. I believe they said there's over like 40,000 different math algorithms that are in there to really go to work to find out how can Kelly's and her spouse's money go to work for them and keep the most amount of money in your pocket and not the bank's.
Correct.
And so do you remember, Kelly, when we first ran your numbers, I know this, but I wanted to see, do you remember how many years it said you would, if you followed the bank's plan and just continued on, you said you're 54. Do you remember when you would have been completely debt-free?
20 years at least, maybe even longer. Yeah.
Yeah,
20,
it was actually 40.4 years.
yeah. Well, the mortgage alone was 26 at least.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so with everything, if you would have been following the bank's plan, it said you would have been in your 90s, right? And that's when you were finally going to be able to retire. Right?
Correct.
Not have, the financial obligation and be able to just be free financially, right? And then when we put the money into the Money Max account and it took your situation and it went to work on your behalf, do you remember where it got cut down to? Like how many years were you going to be able to be free, including your mortgage?
Plus or minus 6.5, maybe 7, like
Yes,
somewhere.
it was under 7 years.
Correct.
It was like 6.9 months or something that you would, following the plan, it's giving you a plan that maps out for you. You got to still do some work. It's not like you don't have to pay your bills and you don't have to do things. You have to just follow the action plan.
Correct.
Yes, but wow.
Humongous difference.
Humongous difference. And you didn't have to cut anything out of your lifestyle.
Correct. It was the exact same money that we're bringing in every paycheck, and even taking into consideration a few life hiccups that might come along the way. And we ran a couple of simulations to pay for cars or, something along those lines. It still didn't throw it completely off track. And I was impressed. It was all about the strategy. It was about the timing, the algorithm of, transfer to, higher interest accounts and, or just not even the gaming, but maybe gaming on behalf of the debtor, like me and my husband, as opposed to the gamesmanship that happens with the amortized interest and all the things that the credit companies and banks have figured out to charge us by way of interest and fees and so forth.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, I think about you often because I'm like, one night you're thinking, how in the world am I ever going to retire? And then you find out about a possible solution. And within 24 to 48 hours of connecting, and getting your numbers in there, you have a plan now before you're even 60 that you can be completely financially free, including your mortgage.
Correct. Correct.
And Kelly, I remember as well, you were like, well, you guys, I might even have an extra $500 a month that I could add to this. And when we ran that simulation, it didn't cut off that many more months for you. And so what do you remember what you said at that time? Well, I'd rather do what with that money?
Well, there's fun things I'd like to do, but I'd like to find a way to invest it. I'd like to find a way. If it takes off a half a year for my debt repayment, that's marvelous, right? But giving something strategic to my investments, to my retirement plan, to all the things. So
Yeah, and really, you know, if you put extra towards it and it's not moving you that much further faster, it's like, well, I can even live life a little bit more right now. I can go on
comfortably,
some trips that I want to go on.
correct,
Because when we think about it, money, every single person, we have to, that's how the world works. We use currency, we use money, right? We have to pay bills, we have things to do, we earn incomes, all of that. That's the way the world works. So you need money. But really, when you think about life and when we get to the end of it, it's not the amount of money you accumulated or the
correct,
amount that you have sitting in your bank. It comes down to the experiences that you were able to create when you were living your life.
correct, absolutely.
And you have
Yep,
beautiful grandchildren, you have a beautiful daughter and son, and now a new spouse. And to be able to just open that up and say, wow, what kind of trips can we go on? What kind of things can I experience with my grandkids or my daughter or my children, my spouse, right?
yes. It can be life changing. You don't want to give up on the enjoyment of, family time and abilities to, I don't know, enjoy different hobbies and things like that. But I'm trying to be disciplined and mindful that I don't want to have to wait to live to 100 to be able to enjoy the leftover cash at the end of the month. I'd like to like to have a chance to start enjoying anything that's left over sooner. If I choose to keep working, that's a completely different story.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I just think that's so empowering and so awesome. And the fact that with the Money Max account, like you said, life's going to keep lifing. Things are going to come up that right now, today, you're not aware of in your financial future. But what's so cool with the system, and I'm sure you and your spouse have been doing this some, is you go in and you just put in that situation and then it forecasts and it reroutes
Correct.
you and it still keeps you on the fastest plan for you.
I absolutely have done a couple of forecasts. I would be hopeful to get a bonus, at the end of the year, and forecasting, that amount of money to be deposited, let's say in January, and immediately can see, assuming I put all of that into the money max or debt repayment, it's remarkable. It's talking about months or conceivably years, depending on the bonuses that we might, get with our jobs, and maybe even spending half of that bonus, and enjoying the other half. It gives me opportunities to plan.
Yes. And to me, that's just been one of the things that I've so enjoyed being able to help others learn about this, because it's going to allow you to be able to experience more now
Correct.
versus a lot of us live to wait till we're retired, or, you know, we're working so hard of the doing now that we're not really being,
Correct.
because we're so bogged down with how am I going to pay this, or you just feel bogged down by debt and maybe past decisions or past circumstances or past things that happen that maybe, like the recession, weren't, the collapse in 2008, that wasn't in our control. Like, we couldn't do anything about that. We had the effect of that, of many other people's choices, right?
Correct.
But now to be able to say, wow, like, I have like a roadmap I can follow. And if I follow it, I'm on my way to freedom. And if I want to enjoy some of this money now, I can. And yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
it's the in the couple of months that I've been on the program with the Money Max, I would say probably the biggest challenge is using a new
Something new.
budgeting system. I was very diligent in creating spreadsheets, for the budget. And the bigger challenge is that it's a collaborative effort instead of two
Hmm.
adults getting married and bringing two different financial, habits together is its own challenge. But then, how do we collaborate on which account? Are we using a credit card for points? Or are we actually just going to try to spend the cash that we have in the account? Are we, going to budget towards a trip? Are we budgeting towards wedding gifts? I mean, we have big, families and large, groups of friends. So we don't want to miss celebrations and having an opportunity to be really strategic. So I do appreciate the way that I can add one-time expenses into the money max. I can add the surprise, $1,500 on the car expense that, isn't, it's mandatory. You have to fix a car, but when you don't budget for those things ahead of time, how do you strategize getting those things paid? And or if it's going on a credit card, how are we more strategic about getting it paid off more swiftly? I think that's what that's what I'm learning already just these last few months is sort of what's the most advantageous way to have the program continue to help me. But the program is helping me already to behave differently, to behave more dynamically, I guess, in my financial recovery, my financial debt, resolution.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like that built-in accountability partner that is helping you see, we all know where we've been. You're seeing where you're at now, but this is really showing you where you can go. And
Correct.
so it's keeping you, like you said, you worded it so well. It's teaching you discipline even more so and accountability, while being able to keep the fun and the love and the gifts and all of that you want to do, for those in your life, right? Because like we said,
Absolutely.
that's what it's really about when it comes down to it. That's why I think a lot of us anyway, want the money, is to be able to experience it with those we love. And so, well, that's awesome, Kelly. And I thank you so much for just coming on today and sharing quickly. I'm sure I'll have you back on here at some point, even, some months down the road when you've really seen even more of impact.
Great. Absolutely. And I appreciate you having the caveat at the beginning of the interview. Not everybody likes to talk about it. I'm living in the same neighborhood with people whose houses are about the same value. So you could be surface level and think, oh, they're paying the same mortgage amount and they probably have the same life, experiences, maybe the same salaries. But in each of our homes, we are running into some of the same kinds of financial difficulties. There's medical problems that I learn about from a neighbor. There are, more children in one household, or there are challenges with, continued employment. And so I don't mind honestly having candid conversations. I have those conversations every day with clients, but I don't mind a little bit of bearing of my soul, because I think that's what is missing. A lot of us, even if we didn't learn it when we were younger, everybody likes to walk around and just act as if we already know what the heck we're supposed to be doing. And sometimes, if you're never taught, if you don't even know the right questions to ask, it's understandable that you can get bogged down. And so I appreciate that you and I, when we became neighbors, had the, I guess the humility to share, even though it was not solicited, because that kind of human connection and sharing really opened opportunities for both of us. And so I see that's what you're striving for with, your program here. And I think it's absolutely the best. That's what other people should hear. Testimonials. It's not a pie in the sky. It's not an easy gig, but it works. So the Money Max works for sure.
Yeah. And I thank you so much. And that's so true, because people need to hear, like I started at the beginning, other people's stories to see, wow, okay, I'm like where she is, or I'm where she is, or I can relate to him or her. Right. And then
Correct.
it lets us know we're not alone. Because
Precisely.
people can put on a good act and they could be in debt up to their eyeballs, but man, they look like they have everything. But yet at night, they lack that peace, that real financial peace, right? Because they know the reality. They know they're drowning. And so it just kind of lightens you. It just brings some, can breathe a little bit.
It's crazy having set up the Money Max and seeing the forecast of decades to resolve the debt and seeing the solution that would cut it down to less than a single decade was as if I got a bunch of money. It was that freeing. It's like, oh, I'm not stupid. I'm not horribly undisciplined. I just didn't know the right places to put my pieces of my pennies and my dollars and, to invest my time. And it's like, all right, that was very encouraging. So yes, I've been sleeping much better. I still have the debt, but the plan gives me all the more confidence than I had.
Yeah, and it's going to be paid off rapidly
Correct.
following this plan versus, like you said before, and kind of what I've been learning is there's this, one of the laws of the universe is the law of polarity. So there's in, there's out, there's up, there's down, there's hot, there's cold. Everything has an opposite. So the opposite to ignorance, it's not that we were choosing to be ignorant of our money. We were trying our daggone best with what we
Correct.
knew. But once we understood there's a different solution and there's a way our money could work for us and not for the bank's purpose, right? Then it's like, oh, now we can grow on our understanding more. We can educate ourselves more, and we can take that knowledge and we can implement it. And that's what you're doing. Now you're integrating a whole new way to look at your money and to run your money. And so, that's what I love. If there's a problem, there's a solution. If we don't know and we're ignorant of something, then how do we learn? We gain knowledge and understanding and then begin to implement, and things will begin, I believe with you, Kelly, will just continue for you and your spouse to continue to grow and get better and better. And you'll be able to experience even more and more life. And
Thank
to
you.
me, that's what it's about. So
I appreciate you sharing it. And just for your information, I've already probably shared this with at least 5 people and told them, no, I'm not going on the trip next year to Africa, but I might be able to just come visit you for a long week,
oh yeah.
So I'm already sharing the strategy that there's a new program in place that I'm excited about it. I don't mind sharing it.
Yes, awesome. Well, thank you. And those of you watching, in my link below, there is a sample of one of these savings reports. It's a free analysis run for you by the Money Max team. And all you have to do, you can look at the sample, you can see how it kind of works. And if that's something that interests you, we would love to have a free analysis run for you to see how the Money Max might help propel your financial future on a faster track to your freedom. And that's the inspiration here at Inspire You. So thank you so much again, Kelly. I'm sure I'll have you back on down the road and hear an update. So
Thanks for the invitation.
yeah,
Have a good one.
thank you. All right.
Bye-bye.